Ew, that was cringe. Maybe you should like backtrack, sis, because that wasn't cute. Who told you that would be cute for you to turn this mother effing camera on and go hee hee like you think you MJ? Who told you to do that? Who told you to do that? Anyway, what's up? How y'all doing? It's Sydney Island here. That's Island with a Y, not an S. And today we're gonna talk about them stanky. We're gonna talk about them stanky booty and retrogrades, okay? So recently we had two retrogrades, okay? Two nasty retrogrades. I'm telling you, when I think about them retrogrades, I want to look them both in their eyes, Mercury and Venus, and be like, you're nasty. I'm for real, like Raven Baxter, okay? Because who you think you are? Like who you think you are? Okay? So I'm gonna put the dates of the retrogrades just very recently. They ended literally last week. Venus retrograde ended on Saturday of last week, and Mercury retrograde ended on Monday of last week. And like I said, the dates, they're gonna be right here. So y'all, these retrogrades was putting your girl through it. These retrogrades was putting your girl through it. Okay? I mean, my internal world, I was stressed. I was stressed. But it was a type of stress that you couldn't really see on my face. Because how can I say to a coworker, bruh, I just can't stop like remembering them cringy mistakes I made, 10 years ago. Like, I just cannot stop thinking of like all of the horrible, awful mistakes that I've made. And I made a comedy skit about it very recently, and I posted it like a few days ago. And I'm more than likely going to put that skit in this video. Mercury retrograde. I got a question. Why do you keep sending me every single memory of every single cringy mistake I've ever made in life? Why? What the hell's up with that? I didn't do that. Because I feel like you... Wait, you didn't? What? No. I just started retrograding and your subconscious started tripping. What do you mean? You must not know what Mercury retrograde is all about. When I go retrograde, a space is created for you to reflect on unresolved conflict and words unsaid. And this isn't to torture you, it's to give you time to feel and to heal. And then if you do that right, you can let all the pain and trauma go and just be joyful. Is it really that simple? It can be, if you let it. Let go of all the trauma and pain and be joyful. Really? Hell yeah. What's wrong with that? It just don't seem realistic. Hey, I never said I was never gonna come back around and put you through a whole nother set of traumatic memories and unresolved conflict. Oh my Lord. It don't end with you ever, do it? Not until death. I was like, Mercury retrograde really was doing that. And Venus retrograde, oh my goodness, I was crying. Your girl was crying. I had the Kleenexes and everything. Okay, so let me stop BSing around and tell y'all what these retrogrades are really all about. I'm not gonna make this like a super informative style video because I just don't feel like doing all of that. I really just don't. I've made so many informative astrology videos, and it's at this point where sometimes YouTube, I ain't even gonna lie, sometimes y'all be making me feel unappreciated. Like I be making videos for y'all, and I just be feeling like y'all just don't be watching my stuff. Well, let me not lie. What you talking about? Look at these videos. Look at these views. Look at these likes. What you talking about? But anyway, so Mercury retrograde is the planet Mercury is the planet of communication. So when Mercury goes retrograde, it negatively impacts our technology. It negatively impacts our technology and our communication. So there's going to be a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunication and, conflict. And it also brings up unresolved conflict and unresolved trauma and unresolved, things that you need to heal from, And so a lot of times when Mercury goes retrograde, you find yourself all of a sudden, all of these memories are coming back to you about things that you thought you got over, but you really didn't. I'm telling you, every cringy memory. Okay, the time when I, blew up at a coworker and was acting ghetto and crazy and got fired. Like, I don't want to be thinking about that right now. You know what I'm saying? The time when, some drama happened with siblings years ago. It's just, that comment that your mama made when you was sitting in the backseat of her car when you was 11 years old, and it really just hurt your feelings. Like, it's just everything. You know what I'm saying? Just whatever you haven't healed from. And that was all coming up for me. Now, Venus retrograde. When I tell y'all, this retrograde highlighted what I call childhood grief. Okay. But this is a different retrograde because planet Venus rules love and beauty and relationships and finances. So when Venus goes retrograde, by the way, they call when Venus goes retrograde, they call it breakup season or breakup retrograde because a lot of breakups happen during this time. Okay. I remember a very significant relationship that I had been in. This was when Venus had retrograded in Leo. I believe it was last year. I had a breakup, an unexpected breakup during that season. And then coincidentally, a couple of days later, one of my favorite YouTubers posted a video talking about I broke up. It was like a YouTube couple, and she was talking about how she broke up with her boyfriend of like 5 years. And I was like, her too? And it just so happened to happen right around Venus retrograde, and so this whole breakup thing is a thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to break up, and it's just relationships are tested during Venus retrograde. I mean, they are so tested. Put it in the comment section if your relationship and your marriage was like seriously tested during this retrograde in 2025. Okay, and I'm also seeing it with like another one of my favorite YouTube couples is talking about how their relationship was like really tested during this time. Mind you, I don't think that they're into astrology at all. It's just something that I picked up on, like, your relationship being tested right around Venus retrograde. And I'm like, I'm looking at that. Wasn't a good idea for y'all to do A, B, and C during retrograde anyway, but they didn't know most likely that Venus was going to retrograde. So when I say childhood grief, it is because planet Venus rules relationships. And I was literally, I had to walk myself through the anger that I have towards my mother for not raising me to be better at picking a man and better at just being in a relationship. I feel like I'm a really good girlfriend when I'm in a relationship with a man. I feel like I'm a really good partner, and I did everything for my ex-boyfriend. I was cooking for him like multiple times a day. I was giving him back massages. I was cleaning up after his kids, not my kids, his kids. I was cooking for his kids. Like, I was trying to build him up and make him feel like the man, but he just wasn't the right one. In return, I remember this one time I gave him a back massage, and then he kind of just was like, okay, you can get out now, and I was so upset. I got notes right here. I need to follow along on my notes, and it says, finally allowing myself to feel the anger and grief and disappointment towards my mom for not raising me to see the value in men. Now, for me, I see the value in men as an individual, but she did not. And so I feel like, let me just be raw. Let me just be straight up and be raw. I haven't spoken to my sisters in a hot minute. Like, it's been a couple of years, so I don't really know what their relationship status is. All I know is when I left off with that relationship, none of them were married. I'm not married, and we're all over the age of 25. And I'm looking at that like something's not right about that, And so I really was thinking really hard about that, and how my mom, she would like have an attitude when I would tell her that I had a boyfriend, and like it was like she was jealous, She was jealous whenever me and my sister would have a boyfriend. And my older sister was just terrified of men and terrified of intimacy, if you know what I mean, and just avoided the whole thing altogether. And it was because my mom raised us to fear men and hate men. And I personally, I feel like I'm a little different than my sisters. Like, I don't fear men. I don't hate men. I mean, there is a little bit of like fear of being taken advantage of sexually, because of some things I've been through in the past. One of my bestest friends is a male. We've been friends for 6 years, and you couldn't pay me to look at men like they're just completely irrelevant and unnecessary. Like, you couldn't pay me. And I really feel like I want to say shame on you, Mom, for speaking so negatively about men. I just feel like she subconsciously and sometimes intentionally tried to sabotage me and my sister's love life, out of fear that we might end up having a more successful marriage than her, because she's been divorced for God knows how long, and I've never seen my mom in a relationship ever, and I'm almost 30. I remember her talking to like one dude. He came over a couple of times, and then she went on a whole rant about how much she couldn't stand him, and then that was it. He never showed up again. So, and that was years ago, and I was probably in, I don't know, middle school, when I was like 12 or 13, or I couldn't have been no older than 14. I probably was even younger than that. I was very young, like, I don't know. But also, I need to exercise forgiveness, because she only knows what she also was taught. Some people, that just don't know any better. But it's hard for me to accept that, because I'm also like, but you're an adult and you can learn. Just like I watch these YouTube videos, these psychology YouTube videos on narcissism and parenting and relationships, and I'm putting forth the effort to learn. You could have did the same damn thing. We both have access to the internet. We both live in a city with libraries where we can buy books. We both can go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, there's no excuse. Like, some of the way that she interacted with us when it came to men and relationships, I just felt like it was just straight up and outright vindictive and immature and just ill-intentioned. And I'm working on not feeling so negatively towards her about that. So yeah, that's what Venus retrograde brought up for me, you guys. What did it bring up for you? Ooh, the sunset going down. Ooh, the sky look pretty. It's kind of like a lavender orchard pink. I might take a picture. No, let me not get distracted. Okay, so the next bullet I wrote down was crying about failed relationships. Yeah, I'm a Taurus, okay? I'm a Taurus. Planet Venus does rule my sign. And I got a moon in Libra. So Planet Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So, I was crying. Okay? Because Taurus and Libras, we all about love and relationships. I just felt triggered. I was very triggered. And the crazy thing about it is, I don't wish for any of those relationships back, because I acknowledge that all of them were like trash. Like, I don't really want any of them. Not at all. I guess I felt really bad that I haven't never really felt like I had a good grip on relationships. Like, I feel like I'm usually more single than taken. And that's because, number one, I am extremely picky. I mean, I am so picky. I'd be mad at myself, like, girl, like, I'm just so picky. I'm so picky. I can't even wrap my mind around how picky I am. Like, I have issues. I have issues. So I've talked to so many guys, and I've only had but a few boyfriends, because I don't know. Sometimes I just don't like people. I know I'm working on it. South Node in Libra, I'm working on it. I mean, North Node, I'm sorry. North Node in Libra, I'm working on it. This all really it really goes back to the whole absent father thing. Like, how am I supposed to know what man to pick if I never had a healthy example of that growing up? Like, my mom never made sure that we saw what a good relationship was with a man. And I felt like a part of me is just angry because I'm like, Mom, you could have at least tried to, to get back out there and date so that you can set an example for your daughters. But instead, she was busy snapping her neck around and being mad and having an attitude that we went on a date with a dude, And so I was just mad. I was like, how dare you? There's noise out there. So yeah, I was like, how dare you? How dare you neglect to raise us to value marriage just because your marriage failed, And she just kind of had this cynical, mean attitude towards men in relationships. And whenever I would say, Mom, maybe you need a man, she would just get so pissed and treat me like I was just being stupid. And it's just like, it's because deep down inside it's true. Just about every single uptight, bitter, angry woman I've ever known, younger and older, has all either never been married. Like, okay, let's talk about the older women, for example. I've known quite a bit of older women who were very bitter, very depressed, very mean, very snappy, very judgmental. They just seem very miserable. And these women, a lot of the times, were either divorced or had never been married before and never had kids. Women, MFers need to accept that we are wired to desire the opposite sex, right? We are wired that way, just like the opposite sex is wired to desire us. And it's really not productive, and it's really not helpful to raise your daughters to think that they don't need a husband. Like, I'm the independent black woman, I don't need no man. But here you are, as soon as your toilet gets clogged, you calling a plumber who just so happened to be a man. And it's always a man, you know what I'm saying? Every time you have an issue. Growing up, every time we would have an issue with the house, or there was a mouse, or a bird flew in the damn house, overstaying his MFing welcome. Yeah, them birds that, one time a bird flew up in the mug and was overstaying his welcome, and we called our male cousin to get the bird. We called our male cousin to get the mouse. We called male plumbers to fix the toilets. We called male electricians. It was electricians. We called male electricians. Like, we always called men to do the hard work and to do stuff. Like, we had a lawn man, a man to mow our lawn, that we paid. We was doing it ourselves, but we realized that it was very challenging, even as a team. So we got one man to do it, and he did a really good job at it. So it's just BS. It's just BS to raise your daughters into thinking that finding a good man it doesn't matter. Is that the number 3? Okay, maybe I'm just seeing number 3 so much that I think it's the number 3, but it really looks like the number 3. Okay, that can't possibly be the number 3 all the way out there. Okay. Anyway, so yeah. 333. Anyway, Venus retrograde also rules the finances, and so the poor ways that I have been managing my finances, that also came up, and I was stressed. I was stressed about that too, you know what I'm saying? I was definitely stressed about that. But I'm glad that it happened, because it made me realize what I needed to work on, and what areas I needed to work on in life. So all in all, these retrogrades tried me. Mercury retrograde had me thinking about old childhood memories. Mercury retrograde had me really judging myself for some stuff I did in the past that I really should have let go of. And at this point, I realize now that I should have forgiven myself for. So these retrogrades was hard. Excuse me. Put it in the comment section if these retrogrades were hard for you too. Because I really went through a serious mental deep dive when it came to the Venus. It was both, y'all. Venus retrograde had me crying about, like, oh my gosh, why am I always single? Like, it was that kind of like crying. And then Mercury retrograde had me like, oh my gosh, all these mistakes. Oh my gosh, I was just so dumb when I was younger. And yeah, I was going through. It was just these retrogrades. It was pretty much a time to reflect on the things that needed work, the things that I didn't do right and needed to make sure that I never do again in my love life. And yeah, Mercury retrograde, it wasn't so much like, oh my gosh, I wanted to send this email and it didn't send. Like, you know how Mercury retrograde be messing with technology? It wasn't so much that for me. It was really just those cringy memories that was stressing me out. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have for you all today. If y'all want more of me talking about the retrogrades, I don't mind making them. But I'm a type of person with my Aries Mars where I just like to keep going, keep moving forward, and talk about the next thing. So you're going to have to catch me in, about 48 hours. Looking at my imaginary watch. Catch me about 48 hours. But if you message me after that and you be like, give me a retrograde video, I'm gonna be like, too late. All right, so give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Bye bye. Girl, where that album at? Huh? Where that album at? All right, bye.